Welcome to CLEF Notes, brief answers to theological questions. Our question for this morning: did Jesus ever have to sneak through a window? That seems like a strange question, but it actually was asserted back in the 16th century that Jesus did that he snuck through the window of the room in which the disciples were hiding the night of his resurrection from the dead. We read about that in John chapter 20. The door was locked for fear of the Jews. So why would someone suggest that Jesus snuck through a window to be there with the disciples? Well, it had to do with the Lord's Supper. And that is ultimately whether Christ can be present in the bread and wine with his body and blood. It was asserted in the Reformation period in the 16th century that it wasn't possible for him to be there because his body was in heaven. And as evidence for that, it was suggested that he hadn't just appeared in the upper room miraculously with his body, which then, of course, consumed food. He had to have snuck through a window. Now, why were those types of suggestions made? Well, because you had some theologians who insisted that the basis for all theology was still the philosophy of Aristotle. And if Christ could miraculously do things with his body after the resurrection, like appear in a locked room, he could ultimately appear in the Lord's Supper as he promised. This is my body, this is my blood. But if we went with Aristotle, that couldn't be possible because a human body is a human body, and if it did miraculously appear in the bread and wine of the Lord's Supper, well, then it wouldn't be a human body anymore. That was the logic. So working backwards, there's no way that Jesus could have just appeared with his body in the upper room. He must have snuck through a window. Food for thought here on CLEF Notes. I hope that helps you, and I hope to see you next time.